Hello to all my new subscribers. It was so wonderful to read all your really positive messages on my first video that I uploaded. I am just so excited to have you here. I'm excited to start this journey, and I couldn't have wished for a better response. We already have over 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in the topic of perfume and fragrances. I try to upload here once a week, and I'm a new channel, and I would love to have your support, and make sure to also hit the notifications bell right beside, and you can also follow me on social media because I always post there. I thought I would first cover some of the fragrance world lingo, the jargon. And when I remember when I started watching videos, I sometimes was confused about what certain words meant. Perfumery words and terms that we use here that some people maybe who are new to the world of fragrances aren't familiar with. So I thought I would just cover some of those terms and hopefully help you guys out. And I think this would be really cool also to reference back. What is the difference between eau de toilette, eau de parfum, and eau de Cologne? And what does that really mean? To put it in really, really simple terms, a perfume or a fragrance is basically just smelly alcohol. I know it's dumbing things down. The amount of perfume oils that are put into some kind of mixture of alcohol that you spray onto your body. So the alcohol is basically just a vehicle to get those fragrance ingredients onto your skin and to let them adhere to your skin. So the term of eau de toilette, eau de parfum, and eau de Cologne, and also extrait de parfum, this just refers to the concentration of the ingredients, which is usually a perfume oil. I'll try to put up a picture right now where you can see the different concentrations of the perfume oils that are in the fragrance. So usually the weakest one is an eau fraîche, also sometimes known as an aftershave or a body splash. So those have the very least amount of perfume oils. And then we have the eau de Cologne, which has a little bit more, but it's also still quite a light fragrance. Then the eau de toilette, the eau de parfum. The most potent of that category is pure Perfume or the extrait de parfum. So the extrait de parfum, it's the highest concentration, and these are often also the most expensive because it's basically getting an extract, and sometimes the method of extraction is different than distilling. So that's why often the extrait de parfum is the most expensive to buy. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that an eau de parfum is always going to be more longer lasting than an eau de toilette. There might be more perfume oils in it, but sometimes an eau de toilette can actually smell more intensely than an eau de parfum. It really depends on the quality of the ingredients that are used, the way that the perfume is blended by the perfumer, how the perfume is made. So I've had some eau de toilettes that last longer and have more of a stronger smell than an eau de parfum. So it really just depends from house to house and from fragrance to fragrance. So another question I often get is, what is a note? Because here on YouTube, we're also saying, oh, the notes in this fragrance are blah, blah, blah. So a note usually is a specific smell or a type of smell that is in the perfume. So usually perfumes or fragrances are comprised of many different ingredients and many different smells. You know, if I have a floral perfume, which it means that it's a combination of different flowers, there might be a jasmine note in there, there might be a rose note in there, might be narcissus, there might be iris. So those are all particular notes that comprise that perfume. So it's often, many different notes comprise a perfume in total. So it matters how it's blended together by the perfumer. When we go through the scent breakdown, we say, oh, the top notes are this, this, and this. Now the top notes are usually also called the opening of a perfume, so that when you spray it, that's the sort of the first impression that you get. It's the immediate smell that the person senses, and those top notes are often the most fleeting. They usually only last about 5 or 10 minutes maximum before they kind of evaporate, and then the next scent that you will register, or the next thing that you will smell, are the middle notes. These can last up to an hour or more, really just depends on perfume to perfume. No perfume is the same. And now the bottom notes are the sort of the base notes, the dry down. This is what we also sometimes refer to as the dry down, is that maybe the perfume has already been on for an hour, several hours. Maybe it's been on like 3-4 hours. And so those top notes and the middle notes have maybe dissipated, and now you're smelling the base. And these are often sort of the hardiest notes of the perfume that really kind of just are the foundation of the fragrance. And these are also the ones that tend to last the longest. Now, sometimes what we also talk about in the perfume community is if a perfume is linear or not. So linear usually refers, like if we say, oh, this perfume is very linear, that means that the scent doesn't really change much throughout. So if you spray it on, that is the scent that you will be smelling for the next hours. Like there isn't really that journey. You know, some scents, they take you on a journey. You open up with this really bright, refreshing citrus maybe, and then after a few hours you get the mid notes of maybe like a really nice woody scent, and then the dry down several hours later will be like a really heavy oudy leather or something like that. And this is just, I'm making it up as I go along, but so those are kind of the scents that kind of take us on a journey. They develop over time. They, you know, you smell different things over the different hours that you have the perfume on. And if a perfume is linear, that means you're kind of smelling the same thing the whole time. So some people just prefer that because you know what you're getting straight out of the bottle. You know that scent is what you're going to have several hours down the road. And some people really enjoy that journey of a fragrance that, you know, what you smell at the very beginning is not what you smell at the end of the day. And an accord, and this is kind of another word that we use a lot. What is a perfume accord? So accord is more of a general encompassing smell of a fragrance. So the accord could be like a very specific type of accord that you're going for. So if you're going for a fruity accord in a perfume, you might be mixing together like pineapple and mango and passion fruit, and that gives you that fruity accord in the perfume. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be a totally fruit perfume. There could be other elements, or it could be other accords. There could be a fruity accord. There could be a gourmand accord. So gourmand means sort of edible scents like chocolate or caramel or something like that. So those could all be together, blended together into the perfume. So accord is usually like a mixture of different notes. And I think I will do a second video kind of explaining the different olfactory families, you know, what kind of, you know, there's like oriental, gourmand, aquatic, chypre, what those all mean. Let me know if you'd want to see that. That is a little bit more detailed. Some scents actually that we know, for example, amber, you can't really, you know, you can't like distill amber. So sometimes like amber, for example, is an accord that's made through different notes. So there might be, you know, benzoin, there might be different resins in there that kind of create this amber accord, because some scents or some smells that you smell, you can't really create by just using a single ingredient. Like you can't distill amber, like I said. Another term we hear very often is sillage, and this actually is a French word, and this basically means the scent trail or the projection of a fragrance. So if you spray on a fragrance and somebody, and you know you're standing on one side of the room and somebody on the other side of the room can smell you, even though they might not be standing right next to you, that means that that perfume has a fairly good sillage, or it has a fairly good projection. So this can also mean, you know, if you're passing somebody by on the street, or you're walking kind of beside them, and as you're passing them, that person can smell the perfume on you, that also means that that perfume probably has a very good sillage as well. Some people prefer really, really heavy sillage. Some people love when the perfume really, really projects and that other people can smell them. And some people prefer more quiet scents, you know, that things that maybe you can just smell yourself, and that doesn't, you know, fill a whole room when you enter it. And that's kind of leads me to the next thing, and that is skin scent. Now, skin scent is can be defined in two different ways. It's a scent that wears really closely to your skin, so this kind of is related to sillage. It might be a scent that you can detect, like maybe if you spray on the perfume, but you have to go like this to smell it, or you have to, you know, if you're smelling it like on yourself, or you can kind of smell it if you like bend your head down and you can smell your neck. Maybe you can smell it, but that means that other people around you might not be able to smell it on you, especially if you're, standing away from them. So they have to get really up close and personal to you to be able to smell that scent. So that's one way that people define skin scents. And another way that I've seen skin scent defined is a scent that actually smells like something skin-like. So it's a scent that people might actually think, oh, you actually smell like that. They could think that that's not even a perfume that you're wearing. They think, oh, that's just what you naturally smell like, because it kind of mimics the scent of human skin. A perfume that has maybe a very light musky scent to it, or maybe a very, very light leathery scent to it, then for some people, they might think that that kind of is just what you naturally smell like. So that is another way to define skin scent. Versus if you have a perfume that's like really fruity or like really citrusy, no one's going to be fooled into thinking that that's what you really smell like. Nobody, smells like a freaking pineapple. So that's another way to define skin scent, and you'll kind of see both definitions kicking around. So another couple terms that come up very frequently in the perfume world is niche versus designer fragrances. What does that really mean? So designer fragrances are generally classified as those fragrances that are created by fragrance companies who are not predominantly known just for their fragrances. They usually come from fashion designers, like fashion houses. For example, Chanel, Dior, Valentino, Versace. They all started out as fashion houses, and they create, clothing, and they do runway shows, and some do haute couture. A lot of those brands create a lot of perfumes and makeup and stuff, and a lot of their income is actually through those other sort of accessories rather than just their clothing, because a lot more people tend to buy fragrance and cosmetics and stuff rather than really, really expensive runway clothes. What kind of sets these fragrances apart is that they're usually a little bit more affordable. I mean, yes, they can be expensive as well, but they're a little bit more affordable than the niche brands, which I'll get into in a second. They're more mass appealing because they're often sold, in department stores and in retail stores that are very widely available. Generally, they're a little bit more like safe scents. They are, more appealing to most people because, since they do want to appeal to a lot of people and they want to be purchased by a lot of people, they're not going to make some really crazy scent that you have to be really, really into perfume to appreciate. They want to make things that are very popular and will sell well. These perfumes are often produced in really, really large batches because they are, for the mass consumer market. They are created in very, very large batches, and that can also sometimes affect the way that perfume is made. The niche brands are basically just brands that usually only create just perfume. I mean, sometimes they'll maybe create other products as well, but they don't come from a fashion designer background. So these are not brands that also create, clothing and stuff like that. Smaller, more boutique, more artisanal perfume companies that produce a little bit more artistic perfumes, I want to say. I mean, yes, there are a lot of niche brands now that are sort of very well known, and they maybe are starting to produce a little bit more mass appealing scents, but often niche brands will create perfumes that are just a little bit more original, a little bit more unique in scent, and so they might not be as mass appealing to everyone. They might also place, a heavier importance or value on the ingredients, on where the ingredient is sourced from. Not always, but sometimes they will place importance on the types of ingredients they use, the quality of the ingredients, how they're sourced, if they're sourced fairly or not, if they are produced sustainably. Yeah, less mainstream scents, and that also means that they are not as readily available. They are sometimes a little bit hard to find. You might be able to easily find them if you live in a really, really big city like Paris or Berlin or, London, New York, Los Angeles or something. It might be really easy to go and purchase those niche brands because they might have a boutique there. But if you live sort of, out in the boons somewhere, if you live not in a huge city, it's a little bit harder to access these types of brands. You might have to order online. You might have to purchase them without being able to smell them. The prices of these niche brands are often higher because they also produce in much, much smaller batches usually, because they don't produce so many as, you know, for example, Chanel or Dior or something. So they have to produce in smaller batches, you know, sometimes using more luxe ingredients. So that drives up the price. Yeah, that's why often the niche brands are more expensive, but that's why a lot of people who are into perfumes really, really love niche perfumery. They're just a little bit more exclusive, and you're not gonna walk around smelling like everyone else when you wear a niche perfume, because a lot of people might not even know what this perfume is. You might get a lot of questions about it, you know, oh, what are you wearing? And it's just, that's kind of fun too as well, to engage with other people. So some examples of niche brands, I mean, there are many. I'm just gonna list a few. Some of the more well-known ones are, for example, Serge Lutens. He's one of the more known ones. You can even buy this brand at some Sephora outlets or some Sephora stores. There's Tower, Frederic Malle, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and there are, you know, plenty more, but those are just some examples. Blind buying. So this means that basically when you're buying a perfume without ever having smelled it beforehand, and of course, if you can avoid it, then do, because you might be purchasing a perfume that you think will smell really great and you get it and then you're unpleasantly surprised by it and you don't enjoy it. So, but some people do blind buy because, like I said, they might not have access to everything. I have done this as well because I've wanted to try specific perfumes that are not available in stores here where I live. I live in Switzerland, but I don't live like in Zurich or Geneva. Another question I had actually on Instagram is, what are pillars and flankers? So a pillar fragrance basically means a perfume that is released, or a fragrance that's released from a house that is a brand new creation, something just original and unique that they have never created before. For example, a really, really famous perfume that a lot of you might know about is by Guerlain, and it's called Shalimar. Now, Shalimar has been around for so long. That was a unique and original creation by the House of Guerlain. Since it came out a long time ago, and you know, maybe people nowadays might not want to wear a scent that by some people's standards might be considered old-fashioned, that's kind of up in the air. A lot of people really enjoy Shalimar. What the house will do is, for example, they will release so-called flankers. So Shalimar being the pillar, and then the flanker would be all the other subsequent releases that Guerlain has released to maybe do a new interpretation of Shalimar to kind of bring it up to date, or to modernize the scent and to appeal to maybe a different audience. The Shalimar Souffle de Parfum, which I recently purchased, that is a flanker of Shalimar. There's also Eau de Shalimar, Shalimar Initial, and all the other ones. Those would be all considered flankers of Shalimar. So another way that you can see it is basically as if it's like a sequel or a spin-off of a really cool, hip TV show. So maybe if that TV show was very, very successful, they will do a spin-off of it. So that's kind of how you can consider flankers. If it's a very popular and very well selling perfume, then they'll do a flanker of it, because that way they'll know, like, that company will probably sell a lot of bottles because people maybe like the original perfume so much, then they'll maybe buy the flanker as well. And another term that you hear sometimes that you don't hear like so much is a reconcentration of an existing perfume. And this is starting to become a little bit more popular because maybe some people are getting a little bit tired of releasing all these flankers. So reconcentration is if you take an existing perfume, maybe it's sold really well. For example, these Shalimar Souffle de Parfum, which I just said, and they did a reconcentration of it. So they did the Shalimar Souffle de Parfum Intense. So the intense version. So what that means is basically they just increase, I think with that one they actually added one more note to it, but they changed the intensity of the concentration of the perfume oils. So they might, they've done this also with Tom Ford. They'll have a bottle that's like whatever, and then they'll do like that same bottle intense. So that just means that, oh, this is the exact same scent, it's just a more intense version. So a reconcentration means they've just increased the amount of perfume oils in it, and that will sell them, again, new bottles, right? More money for them in the pocket. And this is also another way for a brand to keep the integrity of that pillar fragrance. Like maybe they don't want to produce a ton of flankers of it, but they might do different reconcentrations, and thereby also appeal to different people, because some people might really love this really strong, intense perfume with a heavy sillage, and some people might prefer a more lighter version. So it's a way to appeal to different audiences or to different consumers. And another thing you'll hear a lot in the perfume community is when people talk about buying tester bottles. They're usually only available online I've only seen them online on fragrance discount websites. These are bottles that are specifically created for department stores to use as testers. So, you know, when you go into a department store, they'll have like a tester bottle there that you can like try out. So in some cases on the online websites, like discount websites, you can buy those tester bottles, and they will often be at a much discounted price than the regular consumer bottles, and they will be the exact same product inside. So the perfume inside will be, you know, totally authentic, and they'll be filled all the way to the top. You're not buying like a half-used tester or something, unless it's like a buy and sell or trade website. So you're buying a full bottle, but tester bottles often don't come in the perfect packaging, so they'll have just like a plain white cardboard box instead of the branded box with the consumer like packaging and stuff. And sometimes they also will not have the proper cap on it. Let's say this one here, the tester would just come like this, so it would have no lid on the top. So this would be lid, you might not have a lid, and the box will be like really plain and ugly, like white cardboard. Sometimes the tester bottles come in the exact same packaging. I've bought testers and the packaging was exactly the same. And yeah, people buy them because they're just generally cheaper to buy than the regular consumer version. So I hope this has just been a little introduction to you to the world of perfumery. This is not super detailed anyway, but I know that when I started watching fragrance videos, I didn't know all these terms, and it really just was a matter of like learning more about fragrance. So I hope that has cleared something up. Also, I really want to know from you guys, what is your scent of the day? Mine is this one, Terracotta by Guerlain. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Give this video a thumbs up, and I can't wait to see you very soon in my next video. Bye.